Hello there, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel for the second time today. I'm over on the Brutus Monroe blog and I am making my third Halloween card in my series of Halloween cards. So if you haven't seen those, head back to my channel to check those out. I'm going to be using the die of the month called Flourish from Brutus Monroe, and this is a gorgeous die, but it lines up perfectly with a A2 card. So what I like to do is take my cardstock and tape it down with some washi tape so that way it doesn't shift, and then I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, but because this is such an intricate die, I do plan to use a metal shim. And then I'm just using some black cardstock called Raven from Brutus Monroe, and then I'll run that through my die cutting machine, and because I use the metal shim, when the time comes to take it out, it cuts just like beautifully. And then I will take off that washi tape that's on the die, and it doesn't bother me that it stays on the cutout. And there you go. It just takes all of that right out of there. No problem. But then I do use this tool to get, and if I can remember what it's called, I always forget, to get all the leftover pieces out of the die itself. Next, I'm going to grab the fresh melon paper from Brutus Monroe. I know this is super non-traditional for like a Halloween card, but I could not resist grabbing this green and seeing if I could change it up a little bit to use it for a Halloween card. So I'm taking my black Soot Distress Oxide ink, and because this paper in some areas does have almost like a coating on it, the ink doesn't set into the paper, but it sets on top of the paper. So once I've brushed all around the outside with my VIVACE beauty brushes, I'm going to wipe off any of the excess on my glass mat and all around. And look at that, it almost looks like a spooky forest back there, but what that is actually watermelon paper. Who knew, right? All right, moving on to my stamping. I just grabbed the bat from this cool Trick or Treat stamp. This is new to Brutus Monroe, and I'm stamping it onto some Express It cardstock with the Detail Raven ink by Brutus Monroe. And then I'm going to use my Arteza EverBlend markers to color in my bats. Now, I don't have a lot of the grays because I have the smaller set of 48, I believe. I'm telling you, I think I'm about ready to just bite the bullet, or 60, it's a set of 60, and just buy the bigger set because I really do enjoy using these markers. I mean, I love my Copics as well, but these are just neat. The bullet nib is, I like it a lot, but like I said, don't have a lot of the colors, and so it does make it a little challenging for blending. I'm putting all the colors that I used up on the screen, and I do end up using this black, which, because I wanted my bat to be a little bit more black, typically I would never grab black when I'm coloring an image, except for maybe a couple of lowlights, small bits of lowlights. And in this case, I try that, but it is very, very difficult to blend that out. And I'm trying really hard with that A155, but it is just not blending very great. So it does look, obviously he looks like a black bat. I tried to keep the black to a very, small amount. And then I'll just blend all that out as best I can. And I do that with all three of the little bats. And then I'm going to move on to doing some fussy cutting. I don't mind fussy cutting. I've said this before. It's, for me, it's kind of therapeutic. And these are easy images to fussy cut. You can just, move your paper back and forth, and keep your scissors right where they're supposed to be, or, right next to you, and not move those a whole lot, but just move your paper, and then voila, you're done. And then I just do that with the other two. I don't mind. So yeah, easy peasy cutting. And I do go on to do a little bit of fussy cutting for my sentiment later on as well. But I wanted to show you because I finally remembered to actually put it in the footage so that you could see how I actually do fussy cut. And there you go. Now moving on to my sentiment, I'm just going to grab the Happy Halloween. I love how these sentiments just have, it's more than just a sentiment. There's more to it. There's, like this one has bats on it. The Trick or Treat looks like it's a pumpkin. And then the other Trick or Treat has other little elements around it as well. So I conditioned that on my hand, and I've got some more of that Raven black cardstock. And I'm pulling out my Alabaster embossing powder from Brutus Monroe, using my magic powder bag all over that cardstock, inking that up with my embossing ink, and stamping that down. And then I will cover that with my Alabaster embossing powder, and then go on to heat set that. But I'll heat set it, And you'll know that it is because it turns shiny, and you just hold it up to the light to make sure that you don't have any more granules. And yes, the powder bag leaves a residue, but you set this off to the side to dry, and then you can wipe that away later. And somebody asked how I was able to get such a big container. Brutus Monroe does carry a giant container of white embossing powder just like that. I mean, that's where I got it. So, you know, I'll link it in the store, but yeah, awesome stuff. And there you go. You can either use your hand, or in my case, I am using a microfiber cloth to wipe away that magic powder bag residue. And this is where I'll once again fussy cut out. And this is such an easy image to fussy cut. It's not, I just didn't want it to be a straight cut. I thought it would be kind of fun to go around all the elements of the sentiment, whereas you could just cut it, you know, straight edge if you really wanted to. But I thought that was a lot of fun. Now, to adhere my die cut stencil piece to the front of my card panel, I am using a liquid glue, and you don't have to go too crazy. Just put little dots of it in places where you feel like it's, you know, important to keep pieces down, but you're not going to need to cover the entire back of it. I just put little dots in different places. The only place you want to make sure that you have a good coverage is just all around the outside. And then I'm using my reverse tweezers, which are just that. You just pinch them to open them and let go to close. And then I adhere that down to the front of my card. I'm going to cover all of my pieces with some foam tape, and then I'll cover my panel with some more of that liquid glue and stick that down onto my card base, which is just a heavyweight white card base. And this is a side folder, see? And then I decide I want to stamp on the inside, so I grab the silhouette of the witch by the moon, and then I'm going to ink that up with some Distress Oxide ink in the color Shabby Shutters. So I'll grab out my Shabby Shutters and ink it up. And I choose Distress Oxide inks because these are meant, you know, you can stamp with these. You wouldn't want to use your regular Distress inks because those are not formulated for actual stamping. Those are used more for a lot of techniques. And then I'm going to grab the little bat that's in the set and stamp that a couple different times with my Raven Detail ink. And that'll finish off the inside of the card. And then I start adhering the rest of the elements to the front of the card by peeling off that backing paper. Now, as I said, I'm on the Brutus Monroe blog today, so if you'd like to see what the team has all been up to, there are posts every day. So I will have a link to the Brutus Monroe blog at the beginning of my description box down below, along with all of the items that I used today. So be sure to head back to the Brutus Monroe blog to check out all that we've been up to, all the different things that we're doing over there. And then once I get the backing paper off of this last little bat and I adhere him down, I have a fun and cute little, it's funny to say cute and spooky all in one, but cute little spooky card for my third in the Halloween series. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by.